the Lost White Belt. Every gym in the world has this level, and every grappler starts here. The Lost White Belt walks onto the mats with zero understanding of what is happening. Everything feels fast, confusing, and way too close. They don't know how to stand, how to fall, how to breathe, or what the rules are. Half their brain is trying to remember what the coach just taught, and the other half is wondering why their arms hurt from gripping so hard. Rolling at this stage feels like being thrown into deep water. They tap to pressure, to being uncomfortable, to being stuck under someone's chest, and sometimes they tap just because they panic. Nothing about their movement is technical. They make the classic mistakes like turning their back, giving up their arms, or trying to bench press someone who weighs 10 kilos more. But that's exactly what this level is supposed to be. It's exposure to chaos. It forces them to realize that jiu-jitsu isn't a highlight video, it's survival training. The Lost White Belt also has no sense of pace. They go from 100% effort to 0 in about 20 seconds. Their breathing gets loud, their face turns red, their grips turn into claws, and then they gas out faster than they thought was possible. It's not because they're out of shape, it's because they haven't learned how to relax while fighting. Grappling is the first time most people learn the difference between real tension and unnecessary tension. But here's the important part. Even though they feel like they're drowning, this level is where the most growth happens. The white belt learns how to survive bad positions. They learn what pressure feels like. They learn what real resistance feels like. They learn humility because nothing exposes ego faster than being tapped over and over by smaller, calmer people. And for all the confusion, there's something special about this level. Every tiny win feels huge. Escaping mount feels like a championship moment. Getting a sweep feels like magic. Finishing a basic choke for the first time feels like a life breakthrough. They start to understand the language of grappling one word at a time. Everyone remembers being a lost white belt. It's the most chaotic stage, the most tiring stage, and the most important stage because it sets the foundation for everything that comes next. The Spazzy Beginner. This is the most chaotic stage in all of grappling, and every gym can spot this level instantly. The Spazzy Beginner isn't dangerous because they're skilled. They're dangerous because they have no idea what their body is doing at full speed. Their movements are unpredictable, their reactions are explosive, and their energy comes from pure panic instead of technique. They grip too hard, they breathe too fast, they scramble in every direction at once, and when they feel threatened, they don't defend. They explode. That's why coaches always pair them carefully, because this is the level where accidental knees, elbows, and headbutts happen more than submissions. The funniest part is they always think they're going light. In their mind, they're flowing. In reality, their partner is hanging on like they're riding a bull. The Spazzy Beginner hasn't learned control yet. They haven't learned that strength without direction is useless, and speed without awareness is a liability. They think effort equals success, so they use effort everywhere, all the time. They frame too late, they shrimp too big, they roll into the wrong space, and they forget everything the moment someone grabs them. But underneath the chaos, something important is happening. Their instincts are slowly getting rewired. They start noticing patterns, they start recognizing danger earlier, they start to stop themselves before doing something reckless. Not always, but often enough to show progress. This level also teaches humility in a new way. The Spazzy Beginner tries to muscle their way through everything, and the calm blue belt shuts them down with a grip and a hip switch. They fight out of submissions using athleticism, then gas out and get submitted anyway. Over time, they learn that burning a full tank every 30 seconds is not a sustainable strategy. But the real value of this stage is that it breaks the fear of movement. They learn to scramble without panicking. They learn to fall without freezing. They learn that pressure isn't death and being stuck isn't the end. Their body starts to relax just a little, not much, but enough to allow technique to sneak in around the chaos. And eventually, the wild reactions fade. The flailing slows. The scrambles become intentional. They stop trying to win with intensity and start trying to understand what's happening. That's the moment they graduate to the next level, where power finally meets purpose. The blue belt who thinks they're good. Every gym has this character. They get their blue belt, the first real promotion in jiu-jitsu, and suddenly they feel like they've cracked the code. They survive the chaos of being a white belt, they finally have some technique, they can submit newer people, and for the first time, they feel dangerous. And that feeling is exactly what gets them in trouble. This stage is a mix of confidence, relief, and just the right amount of delusion. The blue belt who thinks they're good rolls with newer students and feels unstoppable. They hit triangles, arm locks, guard passes, and everything works beautifully, as long as the other person doesn't fully know what they're doing. They start believing they're flowing, that they have timing, and that they're developing a style. Then they roll with a purple or brown belt, and reality hits them faster than a guard pull. They get smashed, swept, choked, and controlled like nothing has changed since day one. Worse, the higher belts aren't even trying. They're breathing normally while the blue belt is fighting for life. This is the humbling part of the journey. The moment they realize they're still at the very beginning of the mountain they thought they were climbing. The blue belt at this level usually has just enough knowledge to see openings, but not enough awareness to avoid traps. They'll die for a submission and end up under mount. They'll go for a sweep and give up their back. They'll try a fancy move they saw online and instantly regret it. But this is exactly what makes the stage important. They're experimenting, testing limits, and learning where their technique actually fails. This is also the point where ego either grows or dies. Some blue belts start protecting their record, avoiding tough rolls and sticking to what they already know works. Others embrace the beatings, roll with everyone, and treat every round like homework. One mindset stagnates, the other evolves. Despite the flaws, this level is fun. It's where grapplers begin to see their identity forming. They might realize they love guard, or they love pressure passing, or submissions, or scrambles. Their game starts taking shape, even if it's messy and full of holes. The key truth is this: the blue belt who thinks they're good is not good yet, but they're finally capable. They can survive, they can escape, they can attack. And for the first time, they get glimpses, tiny ones, of what being skilled actually feels like. This stage ends when they stop trying to look good and start trying to get good. That shift is what pushes them into the next level, where patience, timing, and true understanding begin to take over. The purple belt scientist. This is the stage where jiu-jitsu finally stops feeling like chaos and starts feeling like a system. The purple belt is the first rank where someone isn't just surviving, isn't just executing techniques, but actually understands why things work. This is where jiu-jitsu becomes a laboratory and the purple belt becomes the scientist running experiments every round. They're no longer impressed by moves, they're interested in mechanisms. They ask the kind of questions lower belts don't even know exist. Not how do I escape side control, but why did I end up there in the first place? Not what sweep should I use, but what reactions does this grip create? They look at positions the way engineers look at machines, breaking everything into smaller pieces until patterns appear. In live rolls, you can feel this shift immediately. A purple belt doesn't rush. They don't chase random submissions. They set traps with purpose. They let you move just to see what option opens, then they shut that option down and collect your reaction. Their timing sharpens, their transitions smooth out, and they start seeing 2 or 3 steps into the future while the blue belt is still reacting to the present. This is also the rank where personal style becomes undeniable. Some purple belts turn into pressure monsters who slowly cook you and suffocate your options. Others become guard wizards who invert, redirect, and tangle you like it's nothing. Some become pure technicians, others become scramblers, and a few start leaning into leg attacks or back takes until those paths become their identity. The scientist phase is where a grappler discovers not just what works in jiu-jitsu, but what works for them. The purple belt is also where humility and confidence finally balance out. They know enough to be dangerous, but also enough to know how much they still don't understand. They get tapped by black belts and shrug. They tap blue belts and don't celebrate. They experiment, adjust, refine, and repeat. One thing purple belts excel at is forcing efficiency. They stop wasting energy. They stop fighting losing battles. They stop muscling out of things. Instead, they rely on angles, timing, and leverage. They start conserving strength, talking mid-roll, coaching during rounds, and almost seem bored in positions that used to feel terrifying. But the true sign of a purple belt scientist isn't how well they roll, it's how well they problem solve. They can rebuild parts of their game on the fly, fix holes quickly, and learn new techniques faster than ever before because now they understand the language of grappling, not just the vocabulary. This level ends when the experiments turn into mastery, when the questions get answered automatically, and when the game becomes less about discovering patterns and more about imposing them. The brown belt problem solver. This is the stage where jiu-jitsu finally becomes complete. The brown belt isn't experimenting anymore like the purple belt. They're refining. They're sharpening. They're removing everything unnecessary until their game becomes brutally effective and painfully efficient. A brown belt doesn't just understand jiu-jitsu, they understand their jiu-jitsu. Rolling with a brown belt feels different immediately. They don't force anything. They don't waste energy. They don't chase low percentage moves. They wait, they watch, and they solve. Every position becomes a puzzle they're already familiar with, and they move through those puzzles with a kind of calm that feels unfair if you're on the receiving end. They don't look strong, they don't look fast, but somehow they're always a step ahead, always picking the right moment to escape, pass, sweep, or finish. What makes a brown belt so good at problem solving is pattern recognition. They've rolled with every type of grappler. They've failed in every possible way. They've been smashed, folded, choked, twisted, and humbled thousands of times. All those mistakes become data, and now they use that data to predict what you're going to do before you even decide to do it. When you grab a collar, they know your next 3 moves. When you post a hand, they know the sweep you are opening. When you shift your hips, they know the escape you're looking for. They also fix weaknesses with intention. Purple belts experiment with styles. Brown belts erase gaps. If their wrestling is weak, they patch it. If their guard retention is sloppy, they repair it. If they panic in certain scrambles, they drill them until they don't. Their game becomes tight and mature, less flashy, but way more dangerous. Brown belts also start thinking like teachers. even if they never say it out loud. They start explaining details to others because now they actually understand the fine mechanics. They catch mistakes instantly, not just in others, but in themselves. They start controlling rounds not in a dominant way, but in a way that feels like they're steering the energy of the entire roll. The biggest difference between a purple and brown belt is intention. A purple belt can hit something. A brown belt hits it on purpose. A purple belt reacts. A brown belt guides you into the trap you didn't see coming. And when they finish a submission, it's rarely a scramble. It's usually clinical, calm, and inevitable. If the black belt represents mastery, the brown belt represents the moment someone becomes truly dangerous. They're right on the edge of complete control, fixing the final holes in their game and solving problems at a level where most people don't even recognize the problems exist. The black belt technician. This is the level where grappling finally looks effortless. The black belt technician doesn't fight the way you expect a master to fight. There's no intensity, no flexing, no urgency. Everything they do is quiet, controlled, and unbelievably smooth. They don't dominate you with strength or speed. They dominate you with clarity. They see the match like a chessboard, with every tiny movement mapping out a dozen future outcomes in their head. Rolling with a true black belt technician feels like being handled by gravity. There's no sudden force, no wild pressure, just a subtle shift here and a slight angle there until you suddenly realize you're stuck in a position you didn't even feel happening. They don't go around your defense, they melt straight through it. Even their grip feels different, relaxed but inescapable, like they're holding a piece of fabric instead of gripping a limb that's trying to run away. What sets a black belt technician apart is precision. Every adjustment has a purpose. Every step is the exact size it needs to be. Their weight distribution is perfect. Their timing is perfect. Their understanding of leverage is perfect. Even when they give you space, it's not kindness. It's bait. They want you to move so they can use that movement against you. Technicians are masters of invisible jiu-jitsu. They don't rely on big moves. They rely on micro movements that most people don't even notice. They win exchanges before the exchange even happens. Their guard passing is about angles, not pressure. Their submissions feel like gentle suggestions that happen to end the fight. Their escapes look casual, almost lazy, because they never let themselves reach the point of danger in the first place. They also understand the pace of a roll better than anyone else in the room. They slow it down when they want, speed it up when necessary, and always keep you dancing to their rhythm. You're reacting while they're directing. You're thinking while they're flowing. And the thing nobody tells you is that the black belt technician usually isn't interested in winning gym rounds. They're interested in refining. They're polishing the game. They're studying your reactions just as much as they're guiding you through the roll. They carry decades of experience, and every mistake they've ever made has been shaped into a better decision. The technician's real weapon is understanding. They know why every technique works, not just how. They can explain pressure without using strength. They can show you leverage without using power. And they can shut down your entire game without breaking a sweat. If the brown belt is the problem solver, the black belt technician is the one who already solved the problems before you even recognize them. The true expert. This is the final level, and it's different from everything before it. The true expert isn't defined by belts, medals, or gym reputation. They're defined by understanding. At this stage, grappling isn't a collection of techniques anymore. It's a language. And they're fluent in every dialect. They don't move faster than you, and they don't even seem to try harder than you. They just make the right decision every single time. Rolling with a true expert feels surreal. They don't use pressure unless they need to. They don't force positions. They don't chase submissions. They simply guide you into choices that feel natural, and every one of those choices leads you into deeper trouble. It feels like you're the one moving, but they're the one writing the script. There's no struggle, no chaos, no ego. Everything is calm and calculated. Experts don't rely on physical gifts. They know how to roll with giant wrestlers, ultra-flexible guard players, explosive competitors, and complete beginners. And they handle all of them with the same calm control. Their style adjusts instantly. If you play fast, they slow you down. If you stall, they create movement. If you attack, they redirect. They're not reacting to you in the moment. They're predicting what you'll do before you do it. What really separates the expert from the technician is their relationship with the art. They see the entire picture at once. Where most people think in positions or techniques, the expert thinks in transitions. They understand direction, intention, and timing on a deeper level. Nothing feels forced. Everything flows. They make grappling look like a quiet conversation, where the ending was decided before the first exchange even began. Experts also have nothing to prove. There's no ego left, no desire to crush people in training, no obsession with showing how good they are. Instead, they guide others, elevate the room, and help teammates grow without anyone even realizing how much knowledge is being passed on. Their game is calm, mature, and stripped of unnecessary noise. They know what matters, and they stick to it. The true expert is the end of the journey and the beginning of a new one. They don't chase mastery, they live it. If you enjoyed this breakdown of the 7 levels of grapplers, make sure to hit subscribe and join the channel. There's so much more to explore in the world of jiu-jitsu and grappling, and we're just getting started. Let me know in the comments which level you think you're at and which one you want to reach next.